Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of the DVC show. Coming up, we're going to talk about DVC for Orlando locals. Coming up next. Hello, everyone, and welcome. Coming to you from the Bob Varley Studio in Orlando, Florida. I'm your host, Pete Werner, joined at the table this week by my good friends from DVC Resale Market, Sue Saunders.
Hi, Pete.
The Sales and Marketing Director for DVC Rental Store, Miss Kerri McPherson.
Nice to be here.
And joining us for the first time on a DVC show from movingtoorlando.com, Realtor Ruben Colon.
Hi there.
And Fiasco.
Welcome home. And the Kriegers.
I was going there. I didn't forget them. I was going in the room first. When the Kriegers are in the room, they'll be first. But as long as they're going to be wherever the hell they are, they're going to have to wait.
We're not locals yet. We're still in the middle of nowhere.
And ironically, Ruben is the realtor helping the Kriegers with their new build. But of course, Paul Krieger and Amy Krieger joining us.
Hello.
As well.
Hi.
And before we get started, folks, just a reminder, our show is brought to you by the World of DVC, which includes dvcresalemarket.com. If you'd like to pick up a new contract or sell your existing contract. dvcrentalstore.com, where you can rent out your points if you want to make some extra money because you're not going to use them, or rent points. Try before you buy. It's a great way to experience the product if you're interested in buying DVC and want to check it out and make sure it's right for you. And then, of course, the evil MoneraFinancial.com that makes it so easy to finance your DVC resale purchase. So please check them out. Show your support to our sponsors, especially if you enjoy our content. So the idea for this came about. Ruben and I were actually having a discussion last week, and he just kind of offhandedly mentioned he's got a lot of clients that are buying houses here that are DVC members. And full disclosure, I am one of the owners of Moving to Orlando along with Sean Falk, and I am also, well, actually, we're all licensed real estate agents, aren't we? Yeah.
Yep.
Well, not all of us. And Amy was a licensed real estate agent, but she's not now, much to my sadness. But Paul's a licensed real estate agent. So I guess we'll just get that disclosure out of the way. But it just made me think of the question I get asked so often by people: why do you own DVC when you live in Orlando? And, the question makes perfect sense, like if you're not a local or not a DVC member. But when you're both, the question is like, what are you kidding me? Why wouldn't I?
Right.
For me, and I've said this on shows before, for me, the biggest perk of DVC for me is when my family comes into town, I've got a place to put them. It's not that I don't love my family. I just hate house guests. I don't care whether I'm related to them or not. I just don't like house guests. It's stressful. But also, more importantly, it gives my family an experience. Like my brother, I'll give you an example. Last time my brother and his wife were in town, I put them up at the Poly, in the Poly DVC rooms. And he was like, okay, this is fantastic. And absolutely loved it. So you get to provide that for your family. And of course, I use them. I'm a little different in that I do this for a living. So I use it as part of my business. I use it to perk my staff from time to time and things like that. Those are the things I tell myself when I buy another contract. And it's worked. It's worked. I'm up to about 2,000 points now. So, it's worked. But I wanted to, since we're all locals now, Ruben, you are not a DVC member.
No.
But you have we'll work on that.
Yeah, I had a fear coming onto this show that I was watching Pete's videos, and one of his first videos, he's like, hey, one of my fears of doing this show is that I'm going to become a DVC member. I'm going to start buying a whole bunch of points. And I'm just like, that's probably going to be me.
That was the first, I believe that was the first show we did.
Yeah.
And by the end of that show, what was funny was that, I was concerned about it, but I'm like, I'm probably not, I've gone on all this time without buying DVC. And by the end of that show, I'm like, oh my God, I'm so good at selling this stuff. I have literally sold it to myself. That's how I sold myself something I didn't think I needed. We have a number of DVC members that you're working with that, all of our agents work with. And at first I was kind of confused by that, but then I realized who's more likely to buy a house here than somebody who's like, I'm going to vacation there for 50 years.
Right.
So what are some of the areas around Orlando that you notice that DVC members seem to be? Is there particular areas that they seem to be gravitating towards, or?
Not specifically. So there's usually 3 reasons I've heard from DVC members that purchase a home here why they intend to keep their membership. One of the biggest reasons is just because, around Disney World and, around that area, there's a lot of traffic, and some people don't want to live close to that traffic, but they also don't want to make the drive down over there all the time. Mm-hmm. So by keeping that DVC membership, you can just, hey, I just want to go stay at a hotel one of these days, live an hour away and go stay at the hotel. And boom, there you go. Now you're you're on the hotel.
And obviously, the argument for that too is that the further away from Disney you get, the lower the prices of the homes tend to get.
Right. And that's a big factor for a lot of people that are purchasing here in Central Florida. Ironically enough, one of our people here at the table actually lives over in the Lake Alfred area. It's about 40-ish, 50-ish minutes away.
Well, he's going to be living in that area.
He's going to be there. So like that's what a lot of DVC members are doing. They don't want to live too close to tourism. They tell me all the time, hey, we hear horrible stories about I-4, and they do not want to deal with that. So they kind of make up for it, be like, hey, I got this DVC membership. I do not have to live next to all that, torture chamber setup that they have going over there. So we can avoid that and just go and stay there whenever we feel like it.
Well, let me throw it over to Paul and Amy real quick. As you were in the process of considering becoming locals, was there any point where you thought maybe I'm not going to want to keep my membership?
I don't think I'd be here right now if I said yes to that question. I think my wife would have done something very, very bad. But no, for the most part, in our conversations, it is going to allow us to use our membership in new and exciting ways. Sort of what Ruben has sort of hinted on a little bit already, the ability to book a weekend and stay on property, or special events that they have on property, and be there for those special events. But more so, we just got back from Alani and we absolutely loved it there. So we're going to be using our membership to get us out to Alani more. Or we love Disneyland, and maybe a trip to Disneyland becomes the norm for us every year or so. So the diversity of the membership in general really is what we're excited for. And we really don't think it's going to, even if we just want to go have a Disney vacation for a week, I don't think that we will stop doing that at Walt Disney World either.
Well, I think being DVC members is what brought us here to begin with. We love Disney. We joined DVC. Then we started going down more often, and we started vacationing more like locals because we're there so much.
Right.
And so then it started feeling like, what, we could be locals. Why don't we do that instead? And one of the things that I had worried about, when this idea of moving to Florida first came to us was I don't want to move and lose that feeling, that Disney magic. And part of that Disney magic for me is the staying at a Disney resort. And so, we still want to be down there. And like Ruben said, there are areas you can live in that are a little more out of the tourist area, so that we can still take, the little weekend trips and stay on property and go to maybe an after hours event and stay late and not have to worry about driving, 45 minutes home. But we still can kind of put ourselves in that Disney bubble for that weekend and still enjoy those moments while living closer and not having to, go through the traveling to the airport and flying down and trying to make, a larger trip worth our flight. Now we can do a lot of little exciting trips and explore all the different festivals and not miss things. And our DVC membership will help us with that.
Well, there's a video I need to finish editing, because I did this a couple of months ago, where and it was organic. I didn't do it for the video. I just decided to do the video. I'm like, oh wow, this would make a really good video. I just was kind of missing being on property, and I did what I tend to do, which is, log in, what's available, and sure enough, there was a grand villa at Copper Creek, not a cabin, one of the 3-bedroom grand villas, available for the next night, and I had points. I grabbed it. We got a reservation for breakfast at Whispering Canyon. We had lunch over at Geyser Point. And it was just like this incredible day. And I'm like, yeah, this is why I want DVC living here.
Yeah.
Because I'm still a Disney fan,
Yeah.
right? I'm still a Disney fan. And when you live here, your relationship with Disney changes from when you were vacationing here.
Right.
When I lived in New Jersey, a trip to Disney was, an event. And it's required months of planning, phone calls, things like that. Because in those days, we didn't have the internet the way we do now. We had the internet, but in my original trips, we didn't. There was no internet. But eventually, the internet was a thing. But it was still, you weren't booking a lot. You weren't booking dining reservations or any of that. You got to call up for that stuff, or go into Epcot to one of the two-way cameras.
Yep.
Remember those?
I remember that. Yep.
And do that. And when you live here, it becomes, you know what? I think, let me see what's available tonight.
Yes.
Well, I can head over to Epcot and have dinner tonight. And I'm going to tell you what, I've been here 24 years. It doesn't get old.
No.
It does not get old.
Park passes get old, but
Park passes can get a little challenging. But what about you, Sue? What's the argument for you as a local having DVC?
Originally moving down from Connecticut, we thought about selling our DVC because this is where we used it. And we decided that we would hang on to it for a year, then make that decision. And instead we kept adding on more points and more points and more points. Because just like you said, when we got down here, we found out we could stay, if we had a Thursday night was open, and we could make that reservation and pretend we were on vacation. And we could experience Disney. It was wonderful. And then we used it for like food and wine, because we wanted to be responsible and not drive home, which was only 10 minutes away, but you still don't want to get in a car.
Right.
And so staying for some of the festivals or booking for...
So you use, your DVC is used for excessive drinking.
on occasion.
We're getting to know so much about it.
Would you like to join me?
No, dear, you don't want that. You don't want that. That gets ugly, believe me.
So we also have used it for our guests, as you had said. It's nice not to have house guests and to be able to put them up there and let them have fun and see them, come
When you
and go
want to.
when you want to on your terms. But getting a 3-bedroom grand villa for some of the great nieces and nephews visiting and blowing their mind when they walk into the one over at Bay Lake facing the Magic Kingdom and they're like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Because they've been staying in a hotel room.
Mm-hmm.
And now they come into this and this is just heaven for them. So I've enjoyed it for 30 years and there's no way I would just say, no, don't be a DVC member anymore.
Right. What about you, Kerri?
Yeah, there's so many different ways to use it. And whether you're using it for the family that's coming in, that last minute trip too. And I think of, 2 immediate experiences come to my mind of being able to, and I don't live far from Magic Kingdom, so I can hear the fireworks and hear the steam train and everything. But I can still kind of relax when I'm at a DVC resort. And so we had found Copper Creek, 1 bedroom, not the Grand Villa. I wish it was the Grand Villa. It was 1 bedroom, and just stole away for a Saturday night. Quick Saturday, got dinner reservations, and I remember kind of sitting on the balcony the next morning and thinking like, my house is like right there.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm so in another world right
Yes.
now. It doesn't matter. I'm not thinking about anything other than what I'm doing. Truly could feel like I got away. And the other experience that we did was my brother-in-law's 50th birthday we had at Old Key West. And instead of having his friends and my sister and my brother-in-law used to work for Disney like I did. And so there's a lot of people that they know here. And instead of having everybody to my house and having the whole thing there, I had a Grand Villa. We booked a Grand Villa at Old Key West because, it's low on points.
Mm-hmm.
It's the biggest rooms. And we had the whole thing catered. And it just added truly like a magical, I don't mean to be like corny, but it was a very magical experience versus my house, which is beautiful, but it was like nice. Everyone was like, nice to be on Disney property and be able to do this and then host the party, and the cleanup was easy. My house didn't have to get messed up and everybody left.
Right.
And it was wonderful. So kind of that both sides of things. And I'm building a house around the other corner near Magic Kingdom, and my neighbors, I'm now getting to know the neighbor. And I said, what's bringing you down from Palm Coast? And she said, my husband. She said, he's a Disney nut and he's a DVC. We're DVC. And she said, we want to live closer. And I said, well, that's so funny because same over here too, so we already have something in common. So we're already being neighborly as it is. So I think we find so many people ask this question to say, oh, do I sell it? No, you'll use it in such a different way. Right. And then the dining and the Epcot and the Food and Wine Festival, you'll use it a lot.
And like I said, for me, because I started off with it was a 400-point contract and then 75 points direct. And thinking, okay, that should be enough.
Nope.
Holy crap.
See, this is what scares me about becoming a DVC member. I hear stories like that. I'm like, wow, okay.
Well, I'll tell you what, where it really did emotionally hit me was the last time my brother was here. My brother's had a challenging year. He had to undergo open heart surgery. Thankfully, he's in very good health. But obviously with the state of the world, he's had to be very careful after that surgery. So for him to come down with his wife and, stay at the Polynesian, which, for a lot of people is out of reach.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, at that point, it was out of reach for everybody because the actual hotel was closed, but the DVC portion was open.
Yep.
Right.
Being able to go and stay there. And we went and had dinner at the Wave the last night they were in town. And as we were sitting at dinner, I was saying to him, I'm like, yeah, I love it. I need more points, though, because I keep running out. And as my brother, who is the paragon of responsibility, of financial responsibility, he says to me as we're leaving, we give each other a hug, say goodbye, we'll see you soon. He's like, buy more points. Buy more points. But it was the look on his face when he would talk about it. And I'm like, yeah, okay. Okay. Yeah, I'll buy more points. I'm all in. being able to provide that, like when my my mother, who's going to be 91 in December, and my two aunts, her sisters, when they come down, these ladies go from senior citizens to teenagers, and being able to put them up over on Disney property.
Yeah.
So there was right before the world caught fire, I got them a cabin at Copper Creek for a couple nights, and I couldn't join them because it was while I was in Europe. That was 2019. The phone call I got. Oh my God, this is unbelievable. Oh my God, Peter, what are you doing? How much is this costing you? And that is a very accurate impersonation.
Yeah.
She doesn't watch this show, so I don't have to worry about getting a phone call.
She sounds like my mother.
But they were out of their minds.
Yeah.
Loved it. Mm-hmm. So for me, I can't put a price tag on that.
Yeah.
Right.
No.
I cannot put a price tag on that. What about you, Fiasco?
Yeah. So
I know you've kind of done, Fiasco is like, with points, is like Jesus feeding the masses with a loaf of bread and some water.
Yes. So on two different points, really, both were already kind of mentioned, but so for the idea of when you move to Orlando, the way you experience Disney really changes. I could not echo that enough because it seriously does in really good ways. But sometimes you do want that full-on vacation mode. When I first moved here, I'd say I'd probably spent like about 4 to 5 months in that full-on vacation mode mindset where I was going to the parks every single day. But then Disney definitely changes for you when you're just like, oh, go to Epcot for an hour or two here or there. And the way you do it is much different. But I still crave that every so often, that little staycation where I treat Disney as if I was vacationing there. And I do that every so often with my small point contract. And like Pete mentioned, I really do get my best bang for my buck out of that. But the other note too is I've put family up here as well. Both my side of the family on my mom's side and Haley's family when they came to stay for Christmas. And for my family's side, who's been to Disney many, many times, but hasn't stayed at the DVC resorts, aside from one stay we did at Wilderness Lodge many, many years ago, who hasn't experienced these other resorts, I put them up at a Savannah View Animal Kingdom Lodge. And that was just like the coolest experience ever. My mom still talks about it today. Like, remember we had the room with the giraffes? It's like, yeah, it's just so cool. And then for Haley's side of the family, they were coming down for Christmas and my mom was already staying with us for Christmas. So I was like, oh, let me see what I can get them. And I got them. And because of the reason and the nature of how points are allocated, I was able to get them a room, Studio Savannah View Animal Kingdom Lodge for 15 points, Christmas night.
Wow.
And I got them in that room and they were like absolutely blown away. And I always think it's fun when I do something like that because it's like no skin off my back, right? Like I just use some points and now I get to give my friends and family this experience. But I'm like, what would this cost if I wasn't DVC? And I'm like, oh, wow, if I wanted to put them up in the studio Christmas night, it'd be like $700.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I'm just like not even noticing the 15 points, whatever. And they get to have this now. It's just the coolest thing. It really
See, I
is.
can't get past the room with the giraffes.
Right. Yeah.
Ordinary people are adorable.
Right.
The room with the giraffes. But yeah, I think that's a common thread running through those of us who already live here. That experience of putting our family and our friends in these places. And, you do shows like this, and then all of a sudden you start getting text messages from some of these family and friends that you haven't seen or heard from. Oh, hey, how are you? We're thinking of coming down. And they'll say the magic words. We'd love to stay with you. Because as soon as I see that, I'm on member services looking for available rooms.
See, that's where you're doing it wrong. Is I feel like I would let them stay at my house and sleep on my couch and the DVC resort for the week. They aren't going to use my points. No way.
So, but yeah, no, I don't know. I mean, I'm sure there are people that have moved here and sold their contracts. I don't know. I haven't talked to any of them. I know so many locals who are DVC members. And it's not something that's talked about a lot.
Mhm.
You know, it's not something that's talked about a lot. And I want to talk about it. You know, hopefully some of you were interested in moving here. Then talk to Ruben.
Yeah, I think people think that they're going to get tired if they move here of Disney, and I have not heard that one time.
Yep.
If nothing, you use it more. You're now more ingrained in the family. I feel like you're trying things that are newly open. You're there, for the new restaurant.
You also experience Disney without that anxiety of I have to get it all in on this vacation.
Right.
Yes.
And because we all remember that.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
I've only got 2 days on vacation left, and
I'll wait in that 55-minute line.
Yeah, exactly. Back in the day.
Yeah.
Back in the day.
Yeah, and I can speak from someone who, and again, I don't know if anybody else is a local who's been here like their entire life. But I was born and raised here in Florida. Disney has not, like, I still absolutely love Disney. I'm obsessed with Disney. And again, I've been here my entire life. It hasn't grown old for me. Maybe it's just because I'm a Disney nut, but I just absolutely love Disney.
Yeah, we should mention that at one point in his life, Ruben was a Jungle Cruise skipper.
Yay!
Jungle Cruise skipper, and also worked as a team member over at Universal.
Yes. I was at Universal for 6.5 years. And then I was at Disney for a short amount of time, but when I was at Disney, I was Jungle Cruise skipper. So that was me.
So that's, but yeah, it's, DVC just merges so perfectly with that passion for Disney.
Mm-hmm.
And it's part of the brilliance of the product, just from somebody who pays attention to marketing and business. Like, that's genius. Create a deeded real estate interest to sell to people.
Right.
And look how successful it is. I don't know. Is there a timeshare company more successful than Disney? I don't think there is.
No.
And it just continues to grow over time. And as everybody said, and I've said many, many times on many, many shows, when you live here, your relationship with Disney changes. That's not a bad thing. It becomes more intimate. It becomes more relaxed. It doesn't have the anxiety of the planning and because come on, we're planning, we're storming Normandy Beach when we plan a vacation. Okay.
Right.
I mean, you don't have to do that anymore. It literally is. And I do it all the time where I open up the My Disney Experience app, see what restaurants are available.
Yep.
Oh, hey, look,
All
we got a reservation at Le Cellier tonight. Yeah, let's do that. As opposed to I'm up at 6 o'clock in the morning,
Right.
6 months before.
Because your vacation
Trying
will
to
be
get
ruined
it.
if it doesn't. Yeah.
And it's amazing how often Be Our Guest is available for dinner when you don't have that stress and pressure.
Right.
Yep.
Right.
And I know what it's like to be a Disney fan living in New Jersey, and I know what it's like to be a Disney fan living in Orlando. I much prefer being a Disney fan living in Orlando. And I've never owned DVC other than as a local, and would zero regrets. Zero regrets. In fact, even with the number of points I have, it's not enough. It's not enough.
You know what never gets old too? And this is one of the smallest things, but seriously, it makes my day every time I go into a park. You scan that magic band.
Oh, yeah.
And it turns purple and
Oh,
says
yes.
welcome
Yeah.
home. I just take a little look around and see people like, they're so enamored by what just happened. Like, how do I get my magic band to light up purple and say welcome home?
Right.
It's going to cost you tens of thousands of dollars. That's how you do it.
The one thing I would suggest to people, and I have suggested to people who call and say, maybe we're moving down, maybe we should sell our DVC. And my first thing is rent out your points. If you don't think you're going to use them, rent them out.
That's a good point.
Because this way you haven't given up your contract, rent them out, and then see once you're down here whether or not you really won't use it.
You're not going to sell. You're
So-
not going to sell. I'm
No,
telling you. You're
yeah.
not. I mean, maybe you will. maybe there's something wrong with you. Maybe you hit your head when you were a kid. I don't know. Maybe you will. But I think most people.
Yeah.
Most people. But that's a great point that you can rent them out. I wish I had excess points that I needed to rent out. No, it's like
Adonitis.
it's not even that. It's just like things that come. Now, again, my situation, I fully admit my situation's a little different because of what I do for a living. That it's unique, but it is like, you know, those magic tricks where they were pouring water in, the glass never fills. That's my DVC account. It's just never. There's never enough. Never enough. But all right, that is going to do it for this episode, folks. We hope you enjoyed it. Want to thank you, Ruben. And if you need the help of a realtor in town, Ruben, RUBEN, at movingtoorlando.com. He'll be more than happy to help you. Thank you guys for joining us. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you again next week with another episode of The DVC Show. Have a great week, folks.